Boutique-type cultivation of Kappaphycus alvarezii in the subtropical waters of Tosa Bay, Shikoku, Japan. This is based mainly on the work of Professor Emeritus Masao Ono in Kochi University and Christine Orozco of University Malaysia Terengganu. A short look back at the early days in the late 70s and early to mid 80s of large-scale seaweed cultivation in the Philippines. This is the largest farmhouse run by the only company with workers as seaweed planters. Other than this, seaweed farms were family-run operations. Here, workers are planting, that is, tying the long lines with the seedlings during low tide. Harvested seaweeds are seen drying on the platform of the farmhouse, and the main seaweed being cultivated, Kappaphycus alvarezii, which at the time was known as Eucuma cottonii. This is Kappaphycus alvarezii, and it has green and brown strains. Originally known as Eucuma cottonii, the name was changed after years of study and understanding of its characteristics. On confirmation that it contained Kappa carrageenan, the name was changed to Kappaphycus alvarezii. Kappaphycus alvarezii is a red seaweed, a very important commercial seaweed species. Its main market, basically a global market, is that it is the main source of Kappa carrageenan. Kappa carrageenan has many food uses as jelly, thickener, emulsifier, and among others. It also has many non-food applications in cosmetics and air fresheners. It also has a local market as sea vegetable, where it is sold in local markets or in groceries. In the Philippines, it is either sold fresh or blanched to be prepared into salads. In Malaysia, it is sold as fresh seaweed in the areas near the coastal sources, or they are sold as dried seaweed together with dried seafood. They are also available online in dried form and in various shades of pigmentation. And they are more available now during these COVID days. These dried forms are prepared as salads or sweet desserts. Kappaphycus farming is actually very simple. It is based on its ability to grow from cuttings. So from the harvested seaweeds, the best are selected. The clean, healthy tips or growing young branches are cut into the recommended weight, then tied on long lines according to the specified distance, resulting in a specific number of seedlings per length of line. These lines with seaweeds are set up in the sea for grow out and harvest. Systems in the sea could vary depending on the location. It could be fixed off bottom lines in shallow coastal areas, or floating rafts or long lines in the much deeper areas. Note that the basic concept in seaweed farming is increasing surface area of substrates on which the seaweeds can grow. In this system, the substrates are the long lines. The more lines, the more seaweeds, the higher the production, except if your seaweeds break and the broken branches are carried away by water currents. The harvests are dried on the platforms of farmhouses, or if nearer to land, brought ashore for drying. Which are we actually producing? So these are the data on global seaweed production from 1950 to 2019 as compiled by the Food and Agriculture Organization, or FAO, from data submitted by each country. In the early days, before the advent of scientific cultivation methods based on seaweed biology, seaweeds were collected from the wild or from natural populations, and that depended on knowing where they grow and their growing season. In those times, seaweed biology was also being studied, focusing on reproductive biology of commercially important seaweed species. By 1972, scientific methods have been established for the scientific cultivation of seaweeds that were based on its reproductive biology and ecophysiology. So onwards from 1972, biomass production of seaweeds increased, particularly for red seaweeds. Traditionally, brown seaweeds, almost completely temperate species, were the major seaweed biomass produced, but, but as simpler methods for farming and cheaper methods for Carrageenan extraction were developed for euchemoid seaweeds, the farming of seaweeds expanded rapidly in the tropics, led by the Philippines. So production of red seaweeds increased continuously. Indonesia, with the largest area suitable for seaweed production, started focusing on seaweed farming of euchemoids and by 2009 had overtaken the Philippines. World seaweed production doubled in 10 years, and red seaweeds became the number one in terms of total volume of global production. Shown here is the volume of seaweed production for 2019, where 48% are brown seaweeds and more than half at 52% are red seaweeds. Green seaweeds have always been less than or about 1% of total seaweed production for the world. Although euchemoids are not the only red seaweeds included in these statistics, euchemoids are more than 90% of all red seaweeds produced. But which countries are involved and which species do they produce? For red seaweeds, Indonesia produces more than half of all euchemoids, that is 52% of all seaweeds produced, followed by China and the Philippines. For brown seaweeds, China is the major producer, while the Republic of Korea is the number one green seaweed producer for 2019. The very famous country that produces many kinds of seaweeds which many of us eat is Japan. So, does Japan produce or farm any Kappaphycus? The most region of Japan is Okinawa, and it has a tropical climate. Three euchemoid species are found in Okinawa and are known collectively by the local name Kirinsai. None are farmed commercially, although some collection and spring for local use are reported. In December 1992, 2 kilos about live of green and brown strains of Kappaphycus alvarezii were transported to Kochi Prefecture of Shikoku, Japan for research and for trial cultivation. So these seaweeds were to be grown in Tosa Bay, Shikoku, Japan. So let us look briefly at where this will be grown. Tosa Bay in Shikoku faces the Pacific Ocean. The Kuryushu Current, coming from the Philippines, moves north to Japan. This brings warm tropical waters from the equator and passes by Tosa Bay in the Pacific Ocean. You will also notice the cold current coming from the north of Japan. The meeting of cold and warm currents create a unique habitat in Japan with a rich seaweed flora ranging from warm tropical, subtropical to cold temperate species. Japan's seaweed flora have been classified into 5 zones, and Shikoku, marked here with a yellow star, belongs to Region 2 with a temperate northern area and a subtropical southern area. So Tosa Bay is in southwestern Japan, western North Pacific, and is located in Usacho, Tosa City, Kochi Prefecture, and Shikoku, Japan. The red dot indicates the place where the seaweeds are going to be. On the rocky Pacific coast of Tosa Bay are several beds of different sargassum species. In Oranuchi Inlet, which is part of Tosa Bay, are several seaweed species that grow in spring, autumn, and peak in summer. Several aquaculture activities are carried out in Oranuchi Inlet. The Kochi Prefecture Fisheries Research and Experimental Station is also located here. So from the time the seaweeds reached Tosa, yearly trials of its cultivation were done during the warmer months of spring to autumn. There were problems with growth and health. By 2015, the group decided the farming method it has practiced was now ready for commercial scale application. They had 5 consecutive years of harvest from 5 overwintering of the seaweeds. It is this protocol that we are sharing. So the results showed that of the seaweeds brought there, Kappaphycus alvarezii green strain survived. It was more resistant than the brown strain. So although it was not found growing naturally in Japan's natural seaweed population, now this is shown to be able to grow in Kochi, Japan. All organisms in Japan must have its own local name. So it is an alien species, therefore it did not have its own Japanese name by then. So therefore it was given the Japanese name Nitai Kirinsai, meaning tropical Kirinsai, to differentiate it from the other Kirinsai which are grown or are found in Okinawa. So the Tosa Bay Kappaphycus farming protocol is composed of two parts. Outplanting in Tosa Bay during the warmer months and overwintering in the hatchery during the months when seawater temperature is too low for Kappaphycus to grow. We will discuss outplanting, followed by overwintering, with harvesting and marketing to follow. Kochi has 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. The seaweeds are prepared for planting by tying the seedlings on long lines. The lines are brought out to sea in spring. In May, when the seawater temperature is 23 degrees centigrade, the same as the water temperature in which the seaweeds were kept in during overwintering in the hatchery. Seaweed growth increased as water temperature increased as the seasons progressed towards summer. The seaweeds grew in June when temperature was 24 to 25, grew faster, reaching its peak in August when temperature was 28 to 29 degrees centigrade. As sea surface water temperature reached the maximum of 32 degrees centigrade, some negative effects in which growth had slowed down could be seen. This was believed to be due to the very intense light from the sun during summer, and to counter this high light intensity, the lines with seaweeds were sunk deeper until 3 meters below the surface. Growth improved and continued as the temperature decreased in September from 28 degrees to 23 degrees. Another problem was decreased salinity during the rainy season in June. This was solved by lowering the lines deeper. The rainwater stays on the water surface, as rainwater is freshwater and less dense. Some seaweeds may have to be harvested between June and August, as these become too large and break easily. Before the temperature drops to 23 degrees centigrade in September and November, the best seaweeds are selected and used for overwintering in 23 degrees centigrade. This will be used for seedlings in the next outplanting season. So these are now pictures of the activities related to outplanting protocol. In May, Kappaphycus cuttings are tied 20 centimeters apart on lines which are tied to 10 meters by 10 meters floating cages. Lines are 50 centimeters to 1 meter below, and these are the lines with the seaweeds growing well in summer and in autumn. And shown here are the thalli of Kappaphycus alvarezii green strain, which have many branches in August. Harvesting of seaweeds in August or December can be done either from the sides of the cage or by swimming in the water and cutting the seaweeds from the lines. Harvested seaweeds are transported without keeping them in seawater and can be kept fresh for a week in this condition. So for overwintering, the best seaweeds are selected from the last harvest in November or December. The best are selected from the harvest and used for overwintering, and then as seed stock for the next outplanting season. Hatchery, The seaweeds are kept in tanks under natural sunlight and photoperiod. Seawater temperature is controlled and kept at 23 degrees centigrade. The seaweeds are cut to seedling size and kept in individual plastic containers. The bright sun could be a problem, and this is solved by covering tanks with light intensity controlling plastic netting or plastic cover, and light in the room where the tanks are kept are preferably at 1,500 lux. Also be covered by plastic sheets to reduce light intensity. Each cycle in the year that started with 20 kilograms for overwintering gave a total yield of 2 metric tons fresh seaweed as harvest. Harvest and marketing. The dried seaweed which had been transported to the operator's place is washed with seawater, and these are prepared and cut for freezing and marketing as frozen seafood for the food market. A portion of the harvest was freeze-dried and powdered and sold in smaller quantities for adding to food and food products such as pastries. Prepared as similar as other Japanese food like this as tempura, and products are also sold online. This is the Japanese website. Went into English. Kirinsai seaweed from Tosa City, a gift from the sea. There are 4 products available online. Fresh live kirinsai, which can be kept fresh for about a week, recommended for use and preparation as salad. Frozen kirinsai can be kept in the refrigerator for a long time and are also used to prepare salads. A unique product is kirinsai enzyme combination with other materials extracted from unique plants in USA. And the freeze-dried kirinsai powder is available in smaller quantities. However, the most important market, which is about 30% of its fresh harvest, and that has sustained this group, is the use of their fresh seaweed in gourmet Italian and French cuisine in Japan restaurants, with the fresh harvested seaweeds shipped to their kitchens. This is one of their client restaurant, an Italian restaurant in Yamagata, Japan, and the following are examples of each menu that contain spaghetti, kirinsai spaghetti, and potage with kirinsai. Phytogastronomy is actually the use of seaweeds in gourmet Italian and French cuisine. It is a global trend which is the rediscovery or revival of regional seaweed cuisines around the world. It started when many high-level chefs with scientists on seaweeds initiated a trend towards a new seaweed gastronomy. This was called phycogastronomy, phyco for seaweed, the use of seaweeds in or as human food. Seaweeds must be locally grown and produced. It is healthy and nutritious and produced by sustainable methods. This emphasis on healthy food and sustainable methods gave rise to new companies which grew or gathered selected seaweeds, packed and sold these online or in public markets at a very small scale. These are boutique type of businesses, the approach that is the taken by the group in USA. The companies sell their products online or to very specific niche areas or to very specific buyers. The USA group also has another product that is being studied. It is the extract of frozen Kappaphycus for possible plant application, most believed to be for flowers, vegetables, and fruits. The targeted raw materials for this product would be the harvested seaweeds that do not meet the high quality needed for phycogastronomy or for any other food uses. Trials have shown results as in fertigation systems for tomato, and also for melon. Dr. Ono holds high hopes for this product and it could be used in other areas where low quality seaweed harvest could still earn them a good amount of money. So lessons learned activities in USA, where it has demonstrated that it is now doing the commercial farming of Kappaphycus alvarezii, and it is using an introduced species, Kappaphycus alvarezii, from the Philippines. And it is now officially, and Japan is now officially a commercial Kappaphycus farming country. For more specific results or notes, the boutique type cultivation of Kappaphycus in the subtropical waters of Tusei, Shikoku, Japan demonstrated that controlled volumes of high quality fresh Kappaphycus can be produced. It has a niche market, and with that niche market, it has a good market price, and this is maintained by set production targets. Run by less than 10 people working only a few days a week. So, is this an option for small groups catering to niche markets? Is this an option aside from the method of mass production for the Karaginan market? For the overwintering protocol, in between planting seasons, seaweeds were maintained in tanks in the hatchery at 23 degrees centigrade under natural light with seedlings kept in individual plastic containers. Other overwintering protocols were not easily available. Most of those available were laboratory scale and were not yet commercial operations. However, for those who mentioned keeping their seaweeds in the hatchery, these were kept in 20 to 23 degrees centigrade. This aspect is the limiting factor in this operation, and therefore the boutique type cultivation will work well in this. For the outplanting portion or part of the protocol, Tosa Bay is an area actually of specific interest to the Japanese authorities and scientists because of the Koryushu current. It has been monitored for a long time, therefore, data on the physical characteristics of the waters in Tosa Bay are available. The Koryushu current sea surface temperature is warming 2 to 3 times faster than the global mean rate of warming. So Tosa Bay is actually unique. Tosa Bay annual mean SST increase from 1970 to 2009 was 0.3 degrees centigrade per decade, with a maximum summer SST of 32 degrees centigrade. This increased temperature has changed seaweed community composition in Tosa Bay. Tropical species are replacing temperate species in a process known as tropicalization. So, in relation to what is being done with Kappaphycus, is the growth of Kappaphycus in Tosa Bay part of the tropicalization process? If we plant Kappaphycus in Tosa Bay and let nature take its course, will we get a preview of coming events as the world continues to warm? Is Tosa Bay a natural laboratory for climate change effects on Kappaphycus and its commercial production? With that question, we look forward to hearing about your own overwintering experience, your comments, and your questions. We appreciate your patience in waiting for this presentation, and we thank you very much.